WAAY 31 First News at 11 in high definition.
Good morning and thank you for joining us for WAAY 31 First News at 11. I'm Meredith Wood. It is definitely cold out there. We're going to check it with meteorologist Ari Sarsalari, who is back. And Ari, before we get started with the weather, I do need to mention that there are some school systems already taking that cold into consideration. Marshall County and Guntersville City schools are delayed 3 hours for tomorrow morning. I'm sure more will be rolling in as the day progresses. So just stay tuned and we'll keep you updated here and on our website, waaytv.com. So obviously lots of cold weather, temperatures very chilly this morning.
Yes.
And we really haven't gotten much warmer since.
No, we really haven't. And it's
up.
really not going to warm up all that much until about Saturday, but even that'll be pretty short-lived as it gets a little bit cooler next week as well. Look at these current temperatures right now, only in the 20s, and we've had a decent amount of sunshine out there, so it's been a pretty decent-looking day. Again, just really on the cold side. 25 in Huntsville right now. 22 in Athens, 24 in Decatur, 26 in Moulton, and still in the upper teens over in Scottsboro and Fort Payne. Winchester's at 18. And speaking of Winchester, we've had a couple little very, very tiny flurries that have been squeezing through town there, moving from northwest to south and east. You may see some of those up in the parts of northern Jackson County as well, but nothing that's going to stick or cause any problems or anything like that. And that's kind of the good news with this cold snap. There's really not much that's going to be causing any problems on the roadways. We don't have any precipitation in the forecast, at least anything significant. A few flurries here and there possible today. A lot of us will reach a high up in the upper 20s. Again, we'll call it partly cloudy, just very cold. Pretty simple story there. Next couple of days, again, pretty chilly. We'll talk about the 7-day forecast and when we'll finally get a break from that cold. That's coming up in just a few, Meredith.
All right, we definitely want a break. Thanks, Ari. We'll check back in. A guilty plea in Lincoln County, Tennessee in the murders of 6 people, including an unborn child, in October 2012. Officials found those bodies between Madison County and Lincoln County, Tennessee. Just over a year later, both killers will spend the rest of their lives behind bars. WAAY 31's Brecken Terry has the story.
I hope he spends a long, hard life in prison.
Henry Burrell pled guilty to 6 first-degree murder charges Wednesday instead of going to trial as intended next week. The judge sentenced him to 2 life sentences with a minimum of 50 years each.
And he ultimately decided that he didn't want to put his family through anymore. He didn't want to put the victim's family through anymore. And he felt like it was in his best interest to enter this plea versus going to trial.
His co-defendant, Zachawanda Moss, was sentenced to 6 consecutive life sentences Tuesday for his part in the murders of Amber McCauley, Shabrea Campbell, Campbell's 1-year-old son, Rico Ragland, Jessica Brown, and Warren Crutcher. Campbell was also pregnant at the time of her murder.
I promised these families that we would bring these people to justice. And as far as that's concerned, I feel good, but you can only feel so good when you've lost 6 people.
Prosecutors say Moss and Burrell murdered the victims while attempting to rob Crutcher for drugs, guns, and money. Families of the victims say this is closure.
She got her justice. Each victim needed their justice. Even the little baby, especially the baby.
After sentencing, Burrell left the courtroom showing no remorse, even winking at the camera and victims' families.
He's been very cold-hearted through this whole thing.
But for families, justice is served.
It did what we intended on it doing, and that is bring the culprits to justice and hopefully see to it they never do this again.
That was WAAY 31's Brecken Terry reporting. The victims' families say they are very thankful to the investigators that worked on this case and the sheriff's office. A trial is set for the second man accused of murdering 2 Crystal employees in Decatur. Our partners at the Decatur Daily say jury selection begins October 15th in the trial of 22-year-old Ezekiel Golston. Testimony is expected to begin October 20th. Golston faces 3 counts of capital murder in the deaths of Jeffrey Graff and Jesse Aguilar. A jury convicted Jordan Creaky last year, and a judge sentenced him to death. A local artist murdered in his Huntsville home. Now, a week later, people are asking what will happen to his sculptures and pieces of art. WAAY 31 received a call from a concerned neighbor who says people were coming into Wharton's yard taking his art. We were able to get in touch with Bill Haynes, the person Wharton named in his will as executor of his art. Haynes told us he put up new security signs around Wharton's home and that officers are helping him monitor the area. In the meantime, many pieces of Wharton's art are being moved into storage and exhibits are being scheduled around the Tennessee Valley to fulfill Wharton's dream of having his art seen by the public. Police are still trying to find out who's responsible for a hoax that brought police and most of a SWAT team to a Huntsville subdivision. It was all because of a prank called squatting, where callers try to get the SWAT team to respond. Police say someone called 911 using a system for the deaf, claiming a woman killed her husband and children. But when officers arrived at Lake Forest subdivision, they found a family eating dinner, unaware of anything. Police closed off the subdivision for a while and told neighbors to stay in their homes. Despite the hoax, they were pleased with the quick response.
I guess the thing we're grateful for is that certainly the system worked. Everybody who was supposed to respond responded, and the neighborhood worked as well in that, people were talking to each other and trying to reassure our neighbors that things were okay.
WAAY 31 asked Huntsville police how much this costs, and the city has often responded to this kind of hoax, and they have not yet responded. The Alabama House of Representatives has approved a bill to give adoptive parents a $1,000 tax credit to make it financially feasible for more people to adopt. The House approved Bill 72-23 yesterday, and it now goes to the Senate for consideration. The bill sponsor says the income tax credit would apply to private intrastate adoption and the adoption of an Alabama foster child where both the birth mother and adoptive parents are from Alabama. The Tennessee Valley Authority is evaluating the Guntersville Dam. Workers are drilling into the soil to ensure the 75-year-old dam is functioning properly. TVA manages 49 dams along the Tennessee River and provides electric power to 9 million customers. The drilling will require some closures and could mean a minor inconvenience for those who walk the Guntersville levee. The testing should take 2 months to complete. Astronaut Chris Cassidy spent 5 months living and working on the International Space Station. He was at Marshall Space Flight Center yesterday to talk about his experience. He worked on hundreds of experiments that will benefit future life on Earth, but one of the main focuses is exploring other planets.
What's exciting from a space point of view is how we can use the lessons learned on the systems and experiments that we're running on the space station to take us to Mars or some far-off destination that we decide.
The current crew on the space station returns to Earth in late March. If you've ever had a cup of coffee in Huntsville's Five Points area, you may have met Bill. He has 4 legs and a lot of orange hair. Lillian Lallo is live in Huntsville with the story. Hey, Lillian.
Hey, Meredith. Look whose ears were burning. He knew we were talking about him. Oh, and then he just heard something. This is Bill, and he's kind of the mascot around here in the 5 Points area, and he really loves hanging out here at Old Town Coffee. So I did some investigating to find out the story behind Bill the Coffee Cat. Check it out. These are Bill's stomping grounds. Old Town Coffee in Huntsville's 5 Points area is his main hangout. With the smell of coffee in the air and the sound of wind chimes in the trees, it's no surprise Bill has decided to make Old Town Coffee his personal hangout.
I don't know, he's kind of the mascot, just a fixture, People come in, new people, and they're like, oh, nice cat. And yeah, everybody knows him. He's been around forever.
6 years to be exact. Felicia Bates and her young children adopted Bill from the Huntsville Humane Society when he was only 6 weeks old. They say Bill was the one who chose their family. And he couldn't have picked a better one. When Bill is not at Old Town Coffee, he's usually 2 doors down in his owner's house. Little Bill, kitty, 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 kitty. Or inside his family shop, Mary's Beads.
We have a dog door, so he comes and goes at will, and he'll come in, eat breakfast, and then as soon as he eats breakfast, he's ready to run out the door and start his day. And I suppose he heads straight to the coffee shop.
I followed Bill, and sure enough, he keeps a tight social schedule.
Usually he's here before I am. He keeps the ground safe from mice and squirrels, that kind of thing, of course. They're probably the best treated cat I've ever met. Everybody always loves him, gives him, people come in and buy ham and stuff all the time and bring it out to him.
Bill and I met for the first time in the gazebo, the second one back there, and he came up. I had a bagel and cream cheese, and he wanted to investigate. That's how cats are.
People who don't know Bill on a first-name basis just call him the Coffee Cat.
Just the other day, the pizza delivery, she knocked on the door and she's like, "Oh my gosh, the Coffee Cat's here." And I was like, "Yeah, he lives here." And she's like, "No way, I see that cat all the time at the coffee shop."
He's got lots of friends around this part of town.
I'm sure he's got 10 or 12 families around here that love him.
A lot of people really love him and take special care of him.
A few weeks ago, someone loved him so much, they decided to take him home. Luckily,